Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to episode 13 of What's New in CRM 2011. And today we're going to take a look at case management. As usual, I'll be using the web version of CRM to do this training session. And as I mentioned, we're going to take a look at creating cases, assigning cases to queues, using knowledge-based articles against queues, and also take a look at some of the bog standard reports that you can have for a queue. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a case. So I'm going to go over to the services section, and I'm going to click on cases within the subsection, and I'm going to go ahead and hit new. The first field is our title field, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a title in there. And this scenario, we're going to pretend that a customer has phoned in to say that they need help configuring CRM for Outlook. We have our title here, how do I install and configure CRM for Outlook. I'm just going to go ahead and select a customer. Let's go ahead and just take Kathleen Cook. We have a subject. Now subjects are what categorizes our cases, and for this particular case we're creating, it's an actual query. You could have service, you could have default subject, or you could have no subject at all. I'm going to go ahead and select my query. My case type is a question, so I'm going to go ahead and just select question here. I could have picked from problem or request. Case origin, in this scenario this came through from a phone. We also have satisfaction. Now this really isn't filled out until the case is ready to be resolved, so we'll just leave that blank for the moment. We also have our status. You'll notice by default whenever you create a case it's always set to in progress. And we have our priority, which I'm going to go ahead and set to high. We also have something called contracts and contract lines. We're not going to use it for this example, but you could basically set up contracts against people or companies, and which means, for example, we could say for a particular company they're only allowed 50 cases per year. Contracts could be based on case or time. So we could say they only allow 50 cases per year, and once the 50 cases are used up, the system physically would not allow you to add or link a contract or link their contract to a particular case. Contracts also work with time as well. We could say that they only have support cases with us for 6 months, and we could set that up in the system, and once 6 months has ended, the system physically wouldn't allow you to link that contract to the case. Last but not least, we have the notes and articles, which we're going to take a look at in just a moment. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this case, and I'm saving it just to unlock the case navigation at the bottom and to unlock the functionality within the ribbon. And for this example, what I want to do is I want to create the case as we've done, and I want to assign it to a queue. So we're going on a scenario where we have a call center that takes in the cases, first line, and then they're going to pass it over to second line. And how they do that would be to assign this case to a queue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on add to queue, and I'm going to search for the queue that I want to add this item to. Now every user that is created within the system has their own personal queue, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign this to our support queue, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK and OK again. Okay, so this case has been assigned to our support queue. I'm going to go ahead and save and close because I want to show you how the queue items work within a queue. And to do this, I'm going to jump over to Workplace, and I'm just going to click on queues. Now by default the queue that we're seeing is support queue. I could actually click on the drop down and change what queue I want to take a look at, but for this example we are going to use support. And also by default the queue items we'll see is items available to work on. I could change that to all items or items I am working on. But for the moment I'm going to change this to items available to work on, which makes sense because if you go into a support queue, you want to see the you might, well, by default you'll want to see the cases that are not assigned to anyone, so you can assign them to yourself. Okay, so I'm second line support. I've clicked on queues and I've clicked on support, and I see items available to work on, and I'm going to choose how do I install and configure CRM Outlook. Now when I highlighted the role, you'll notice that some of these icons on the CRM ribbon has become available. First we have routing, and what routing allows you to do is to move a queue item from one queue to another. Working on, it just informs CRM of the user that's working on this particular queue item. Release, the release basically means that you could tell the system to release the queue item from the queue once you're done working on it. So what it means is it will still be available in the activities list, but once you're finished working on it, it will automatically remove it from this particular queue. We have remove, which just simply removes the item from the queue. It's still available in the system. It doesn't delete the case, but it will just remove it from the support queue. And last but not least, we have queue item details, where you can view and edit details about this particular item. Now for this example, I'm pretending to now be second line support, and I want to work on this particular case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click work on, and you can see I could choose from assigned to me to work on, or assigned to another user or team to work on. New functionality in CRM 2011, as you know, that you can assign records to teams. Now I'm going to leave it to be assigned to me, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice from the moment I've done that, all of a sudden that queue item has disappeared from this queue. Why? Because it's no longer an item that's available to work on. It's being worked on by me. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to change the queues to show myself, and let me just go in there. And what would it basically allow me to do is it will allow me to now work on this particular case. So let me change that. I actually said items available to work on. Let me change that to items I am working on, and you can see there's the case. So let's double click and open back up this case and see what we can do. So here's our case. It's now assigned to me. It's now something that I'm working on. The CRM system knows I am because I've assigned it to myself. And what I want to do is I want to basically resolve this. Now for this particular query, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a knowledge base article. So I have a knowledge base article set up in the system that tells users step by step exactly how to configure CRM Outlook. And to do this, I'm just going to expand notes and articles, and I'm going to select a knowledge base article. Now I'm going to tick this box to say show article, because I just want you to see that what the layout of the article is when I assign it or attach it to this case. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the lookup to search for my article. Now I could search for with a specific name for the article using exact text or use like words. Like words basically is when you set up the knowledge base article, you could tell the system what the like words will be for searching purposes. So for example, if I was to type in here CRM and search, my knowledge base article will appear simply because I've told the system to use CRM as a search word for my knowledge base article. I also told the system to use Outlook, and as you can see, the same thing happens. Or I could search via subject. So if I was to go ahead and select query and put in my criteria again, this is just to pinpoint the search more. You can see my article has popped up. I'm going to go ahead and select my knowledge base article and click OK. And now what you can see is the knowledge base article has appeared in this box, but more importantly, it's given us a preview of exactly what information is going to be sent out. Now it's just a case of me clicking on email article, and the system would automatically open up an email pane where I could send this to Kathleen. So the information's there. I can now go ahead and hit send, and that information has been fired off to Kathleen Cook. Normal scenario, the customer would respond to us and say whether they're happy or not with this resolution. Let's go on the pretense that they are happy with this resolution. So I'm going to put in a satisfaction here of satisfied. I'm going to go ahead and save again. And then the final step is I'm going to go ahead and resolve the case. The case is going to be closed now. I'm going to click on resolve. Now the system says that I still have activities open. The activity that I have open is my email. Let me go ahead and add an email address so the information can actually get sent out. Let's go ahead and send that again. Brilliant. And now we can go ahead and resolve our case. So I'm just going to say that the problem was solved. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. You'll notice that when you resolve a case, everything goes grey. Well, most things go grey because the system's been closed down. So just to point out, once you resolve a case, most of the fields within that case will become read-only. You can, however, reactivate a case again by clicking on the reactivate button, and the case will come back into active views for everyone to see and work on. Okay, so what did we do? We created a case. We assigned it to a queue. We've taken that item out of the queue to say that we're working on it. We've then linked a knowledge base article to the case, fired it off to the customer, and closed the case down. One final thing I want to show you is reports on cases. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the service area again, and I'm going to go back into my cases. And in the cases section, we have an icon called Run Report. And what we could do is we could run the reports that says Run on Selected Records. Now, whenever you see reports under the header Run on Selected Records, it literally means you have to select the records first and then run the report. I'm going to do a report called Run on All Records. So I'm going to do a report called Service Activity Volume, and this runs on all records that fits the criteria for this particular report. So I'm going to go ahead, just to give you an idea of what these reports look like. I'm going to go ahead and run that report, and I'm going to change this to activity duration. Let's see, for the month. See if any information comes up here. Nothing does. See what other reports we can use here. First thing I'm going to do is I want to run I want to run a report on selected records, but what I've done is I've changed the view to active cases, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight all 25 cases. I'm going to run the report, and this time I'm going to say case summary table. Run that report. And there you go. Here's an example here, and what the case summary table does is basically it just summarizes the cases owned by different users. It counts how many cases are in progress, how many total cases they have, what they're working on at the moment, and what percentage has been completed or not. So some of these are just bog standard case reports that you get within the system, but they can be extremely useful to yourselves. I hope this training session has been of use to you. I'd like to thank you for attending. Other things you could do with the cases, you can also assign products to cases. Cases doesn't necessarily always have to be used for questions or support. It could also be used for complaints. It could be used for other things depending on your business type. Once again, thank you for attending this session, and I hope it's been of some use to you.